The thriller genre is cinema's dark heart, where mystery and tension keep audiences enthralled. From 1940s noir to 1980s psychological puzzles, these classics highlight an era of atmosphere and lighting over digital effects. Today, YouTube's archives offer a free portal to these essential cinematic milestones. In this list, we explore 20 rare thriller gems featuring legends like Orson Welles and Boris Karloff. Spanning from Cold War paranoia to television parlor mysteries, these films showcase the masterful craftsmanship of old Hollywood. Dim the lights and dive into these timeless classics before they disappear from the digital shelves. Number 1. Confidential Report, 1955. Confidential Report, also famously known as Mr. Arkadin, is a globe-trotting thriller that bears all the hallmarks of its legendary director, writer, and star Orson Welles. The story follows a small-time American smuggler, Guy Van Straten, who becomes entangled in the world of Gregory Arkadin, a billionaire tycoon with a mysterious past that he claims to have forgotten. Arkadin hires Van Straten to investigate his own history, leading to a sprawling journey across Europe and Mexico. However, the mission quickly turns dangerous as the investigator realizes that everyone connected to Arkadin's past is meeting a grim fate. The film is a masterclass in Baroque visual style, utilizing the deep focus and extreme camera angles that Welles pioneered in Citizen Kane. What makes this film historically significant is its complex production history and the sheer presence of Welles himself. Produced during his self-imposed exile in Europe, the film exists in multiple versions due to disputes over the final edit, with Confidential Report being one of the most widely recognized cuts. It is a cynical, atmospheric look at power and identity, featuring an eclectic cast that includes Michael Redgrave and Marlene Dietrich in memorable cameos. For fans of film noir, it serves as a fascinating transition into a more international and avant-garde style of storytelling. It captures a sense of post-war disillusionment, wrapped in a mystery that is as much about the character of Arkadin as it is about the secret he is trying to hide. Number 2. Flight to Nowhere, 1946. Flight to Nowhere is a quintessential post-World War II thriller that perfectly captures the early anxieties of the atomic age. The plot centers on a pilot who finds himself caught in a web of international intrigue involving the smuggling of secret maps that lead to valuable uranium deposits. As he flies across the border into Mexico, he realizes that several clandestine groups are willing to kill to get their hands on the information. The film is directed by William Rowland and features a gritty, low-budget aesthetic that was common among independent productions of the mid-40s, giving it an authentic, street-level tension that big studio films sometimes lacked. Historically, this film is significant for being one of the first to address the growing global concern over nuclear materials and the dawn of the Cold War. It moves away from the traditional espionage of the war years and enters a more cynical world where information is the most dangerous currency. The cast, led by Alan Curtis, delivers solid performances that ground the somewhat convoluted plot in human emotion. For viewers interested in the roots of the modern political thriller, Flight to Nowhere offers a fascinating look at how filmmakers first began to dramatize the shadowy world of nuclear secrets and the private investigators who operated in the gaps between government agencies. Number 3. Treasure of Monte Cristo, 1949. Treasure of Monte Cristo is a clever, modern-day noir reimagining of the classic Alexandre Dumas tale, set against the fog-shrouded backdrop of late 1940s San Francisco. The story follows a humble merchant seaman who is lured into a marriage by a beautiful woman, only to realize he is a pawn in a larger scheme. He is framed for a murder he did not commit and eventually discovers that he is the descendant of the original Count of Monte Cristo, with a hidden fortune waiting for him. The narrative then shifts into a high-stakes thriller as he attempts to clear his name and reclaim his heritage while being hunted by corrupt officials and greedy criminals. Directed by William Burke, the film is celebrated for its effective use of San Francisco locations, which add a layer of authentic noir atmosphere to the proceedings. Unlike many period adaptations, this film succeeds by leaning into the tropes of the crime drama, featuring hard-boiled dialogue and a cynical outlook on institutional corruption. It is a notable example of how classic literature was often adapted by Poverty Row Studios to fit the popular crime genres of the era. The performance by Glenn Langan provides a grounded center to the sweeping adventure, making the fantastical elements of The Inheritance feel plausible in a world of crooked cops and shadowy alleys. It remains a hidden gem for those who enjoy the intersection of classic adventure and gritty film noir. Number 4. Rehearsal for Murder, 1982. Rehearsal for Murder is a sophisticated and highly clever television thriller that feels like a love letter to the theater. The story follows a famous playwright, played by Robert Preston, whose leading lady and fiancé apparently took her own life on the opening night of their latest play. 1 year later, convinced that she was actually murdered, he gathers the original cast and crew at the same theater under the pretense of a reading for a new script. In reality, the new play is a reenactment of the events surrounding her death, designed to trap the killer into a confession. The film features an incredible ensemble cast, including a very young Jeff Goldblum, Lynn Redgrave, and Patrick Macnee. What makes this film a standout is its pedigree. It was written by Richard Levinson and William Link, the legendary creators of Columbo and Murder, she wrote. Their signature style of the fair play mystery is on full display here, with a script that is packed with meta-textual references to the nature of acting and stagecraft. It is a masterclass in building suspense within a single location, utilizing the empty, echoing space of the theater to create a sense of claustrophobia. The film is historically significant as an example of the high-quality, standalone television movies that were produced in the 1980s, offering a level of intellectual engagement that rivaled theatrical releases. For fans of the classic whodunit, this is a must-watch that keeps you guessing until the final curtain call. Number 5. My Favorite Brunette, 1947. My Favorite Brunette is a delightful and suspenseful parody of the hard-boiled film noir genre, starring the legendary Bob Hope and Dorothy Lamour. Bob Hope plays a baby photographer who desperately wants to be a private detective, like his neighbor across the hall. When he is mistaken for a real investigator by a beautiful woman in distress, he finds himself embroiled in a dangerous plot involving a missing baron and a group of sinister criminals, including a memorable turn by Peter Lorre and Lon Chaney Jr. The film expertly balances Bob Hope's trademark comedic timing with genuine thriller elements, making it a unique hybrid that both celebrates and skewers the tropes of the era. The film is historically significant for its self-aware approach to the noir genre, which was at its absolute peak in 1947. By casting icons of the horror and thriller world like Peter Lorre and Lon Chaney Jr., the film adds a layer of authenticity to its suspenseful moments. Even while Bob Hope is cracking jokes, it features several iconic sequences, including a hilarious and tense final showdown that pays homage to the high-stakes endings of classic detective movies. Directed by Elliot Nugent, the film was a massive hit and remains one of the most beloved entries in Bob Hope's filmography. For viewers who enjoy a thriller that does not take itself too seriously but still delivers a compelling mystery, this film is a perfect vintage escape. Number 6. The Screaming Skull, 1958. The Screaming Skull is an atmospheric and eerie B-movie classic that has earned a permanent place in the pantheon of mid-century cult cinema. The story follows a wealthy woman who moves into the secluded estate of her new husband, only to be plagued by the apparent ghostly presence of his late first wife. As she begins to see and hear a screaming skull throughout the house, the narrative questions whether she is losing her mind or if someone is orchestrating a terrifying campaign to drive her to the brink. Directed by Alex Nicole, who also stars in the film, it relies heavily on shadows and sound design to create a sense of impending dread. Historically, the film is famous for its unique marketing gimmick, which included a prologue informing audiences that the producers would pay for the funeral of anyone who died of fright while watching the movie. Beyond the campy marketing, the film is noted for its effective use of limited locations and its focus on psychological gaslighting, a theme that predates more famous examples like Gaslight or Les Diaboliques. While it was produced on a modest budget, its influence can be seen in later haunted house thrillers that prioritize mood over special effects. It is a quintessential 1950s thriller that captures the era's fascination with the supernatural and the fragile nature of sanity within the domestic sphere. Number 7. Murder Once Removed, 1971. Murder Once Removed is a taut and suspenseful made-for-TV thriller that serves as a great example of the high-quality mystery programming of the early 1970s. The plot revolves around a highly respected doctor, played by John Forsythe, who becomes entangled in a deadly scheme involving a wealthy patient and a potential inheritance. As he attempts to orchestrate what he believes is a perfect crime, he finds himself being outmaneuvered by an increasingly complex web of betrayal and unforeseen complications. The film features a solid cast that also includes Richard Kiley and Barbara Bain, providing a level of dramatic weight that elevates the television production. What makes this film significant is its focus on the procedural elements of the crime, following the protagonist's meticulous planning and the subsequent unraveling of his life. It reflects the early 70s trend of the character-driven thriller, where the suspense is derived from the audience watching a character they might initially respect fall into a trap of their own making. Directed by Charles S. Dubin, The film maintains a steady, deliberate pace that builds to a satisfying and ironic conclusion. For fans of clinical, calculated thrillers where the battle of wits is the primary attraction, Murder Once Removed is a compelling and often overlooked gem from the golden age of the television movie. Number 8. Ghosts on the Loose, 1943. Ghosts on the Loose is a fascinatingly strange hybrid of action, comedy, and thriller that brought together the East Side Kids and the legendary Bela Lugosi. The story follows the young gang as they attempt to clean up a house for a friend's honeymoon, only to discover that the house next door is being used as a headquarters for a group of Nazi saboteurs who are pretending to be ghosts to keep the neighbors away. Bela Lugosi plays the leader of the enemy agents, bringing his trademark intensity and gravitas to a role that is both menacing and slightly campy. This film is historically significant as a piece of wartime propaganda disguised as lighthearted entertainment. It showcases how Hollywood used popular youth groups like the East Side Kids to boost morale and deliver patriotic messages during World War II. Despite the comedic elements, the film features several genuinely suspenseful sequences in the secret passages and hidden rooms of the supposedly haunted house. It is also notable for featuring a very young Ava Gardner in one of her earliest film roles. For viewers who enjoy the unique energy of 1940s B-movies where genres collide, Ghosts on the Loose offers a rollicking and nostalgic experience that highlights the incredible versatility of Bela Lugosi beyond his monster roles. Number 9. British Intelligence, 1940. British Intelligence is a high-stakes espionage thriller set during World War I, featuring a rare and compelling performance by Boris Karloff in a role that moves away from his traditional horror roots. Boris Karloff plays Valdar, a seemingly loyal butler, in the home of a high-ranking British official. In reality, Valdar is a man of many secrets, caught in a complex game of double-crossing between British and German intelligence agencies. The plot is filled with secret codes, hidden identities, and a sense of pervasive paranoia as the characters realize that a spy is operating in their very midst. Historically, this film is significant for being released during the early days of World War II, using the setting of the previous conflict to resonate with contemporary audiences' fears of domestic sabotage and fifth-column agents. It serves as an excellent example of the wartime spy genre, where the line between hero and villain is often blurred for the sake of the mission. Boris Karloff's performance is understated and intellectual, proving that he was more than capable of carrying a sophisticated thriller. The film's focus on the technological aspects of spying in the early 20th century adds a layer of historical interest for fans of the genre. It remains a taut and well-crafted thriller that showcases the era's fascination with the shadowy world of international intelligence. Number 10. The Fatal Hour, 1940. The Fatal Hour is an atmospheric and fast-paced mystery thriller that features Boris Karloff in his recurring role as the brilliant Chinese-American detective James Lee Wong. In this installment, Wong is called in to investigate the murder of a close friend of Captain Street, which leads him into the dangerous and fog-covered waterfronts of San Francisco. He soon uncovers a massive smuggling ring involving stolen jewelry and high-stakes criminal activities. Boris Karloff brings a quiet, dignified intelligence to the role of Mr. Wong, utilizing deduction and scientific analysis rather than brute force to solve the case. This film is historically significant as part of the popular detective film series of the 1930s and 40s, providing a unique alternative to the more famous Sherlock Holmes or Charlie Chan movies. It is noted for its gritty portrayal of the waterfront underworld and its focus on the procedural details of the investigation. Directed by William Nye, the film moves at a brisk pace and features several suspenseful sequences, including a memorable and tense final confrontation. The chemistry between Boris Karloff's intellectual Wong and Grant Withers' more impulsive Captain Street provides the emotional anchor for the mystery. For fans of classic detective thrillers that prioritize logic and atmosphere, The Fatal Hour is a quintessential entry that showcases Boris Karloff's incredible range as a lead actor. Number 11. Black Dragons, 1942. Black Dragons is a dark and imaginative thriller that blends elements of science fiction, espionage, and wartime paranoia, starring the incomparable Bela Lugosi. The plot involves a group of Japanese saboteurs who employ a brilliant plastic surgeon to transform them into the likenesses of prominent American industrialists so they can infiltrate and sabotage the nation's war effort from the inside. However, the surgeon has his own vengeful agenda, leading to a series of shocking murders and a high-stakes investigation. Bela Lugosi plays the dual role of the doctor and his vengeful creation, delivering a performance that is both tragic and terrifying. Historically, the film is a fascinating example of the yellow peril and wartime propaganda themes that were common in Hollywood during the early 1940s. It reflects the deep-seated fears of domestic infiltration that permeated American society after the attack on Pearl Harbor. Despite its low-budget origins at Monogram Pictures, the film is admired for its creative premise and Bela Lugosi's magnetic screen presence. It is often cited as one of the more unique entries in his filmography, moving away from supernatural horror into a more topical, albeit fantastical, thriller territory. For viewers interested in how cinema reacted to the global conflict of the 40s, through the lens of the genre film, Black Dragons offers a compelling and often eerie perspective. Number 12. $2 Bettor, 1951. $2 Bettor is a stark and cautionary film noir that explores the devastating consequences of gambling addiction. The story follows a respectable middle-class family man, played by John Littell, who starts with a harmless $2 bet at the racetrack. His small habit quickly spirals into an uncontrollable obsession, leading him into the dangerous world of bookies, loan sharks, and embezzled funds. As he becomes more desperate to win back his losses, he finds himself being blackmailed by a ruthless criminal syndicate, threatening to destroy his career and his family. The film features Marie Windsor, often called the Queen of the Bees, in a standout role as a seductive and manipulative player in the gambling underworld. Historically, this film is significant for its realistic and unsentimental portrayal of an addiction that was often treated as a mere character flaw in other movies. It reflects the post-war trend of the social problem film, using the noir aesthetic to highlight the dark side of the American suburban dream. Directed by the prolific Edward L. Kahn, the film maintains a relentless, downward spiraling pace that mirrors the protagonist's descent. It is a taut and effective thriller that eschews traditional heroes in favor of a tragic look at a man who loses everything. For fans of gritty, socially conscious noir that prioritizes character over spectacle, $2 Bettor is a powerful and memorable watch. Number 13. Invisible Ghost, 1941. Invisible Ghost is a moody and highly atmospheric thriller that represents one of Bela Lugosi's best performances during his tenure at Monogram Pictures. Bela Lugosi plays a wealthy, respected member of the community who believes his wife has deserted him. In reality, she is living in secret in the cellar of his estate, having suffered a mental breakdown. Whenever Bela Lugosi's character inadvertently sees her through a window, he enters a homicidal, trance-like state and begins to murder his household staff, having no memory of the crimes afterward. The film creates a genuine sense of unease through its shadowy lighting and the tragic, haunted quality that Bela Lugosi brings to the role. Historically, the film is significant as the first of the 9 films Bela Lugosi made for the Poverty Row Studio Monogram, which helped sustain his career in the early 40s. Directed by Joseph H. Lewis, who would later direct the noir masterpiece Gun Crazy, the film features a level of visual sophistication that was rare for low-budget productions of the time. It is a unique hybrid of the old dark house mystery and the psychological thriller, focusing on the internal torment of a man who is a monster against his will. The colorized version, available on YouTube, adds a new layer of vibrancy to the film's gothic atmosphere. For lovers of classic horror-tinged thrillers, Invisible Ghost is a quintessential example of Bela Lugosi's enduring power as a screen icon. Number 14. Man with Two Lives, 1942. Man with Two Lives is a fascinating and often overlooked supernatural thriller that explores the classic theme of the soul swap with a unique crime genre twist. The story begins when a kind-hearted young man is killed in a car accident and is miraculously brought back to life by a scientist. However, at the exact moment of his revival, a notorious and cold-blooded gangster is executed in the electric chair. The young man returns to life with the soul and personality of the criminal, leading him back to his old gang and a series of brutal crimes. The film stars Edward Norris, who delivers a compelling dual performance as the innocent victim and the ruthless killer trapped in the same body. The film is historically significant for its early exploration of themes that would later become staples of the science fiction and horror genres, such as the ethical implications of life extension and the nature of identity. Produced during the height of the B-movie era, it uses its high-concept premise to drive a taut and suspenseful narrative that blends medical curiosity with gritty crime drama. Directed by Phil Rosen, the film moves at a brisk pace and features several well-crafted sequences that highlight the protagonist's internal struggle. It remains a curious and engaging relic of the early 40s, offering a darker and more cynical take on the reincarnation mythos than many of its contemporaries. Number 15. Captain Scarface, 1953. Captain Scarface is a high-stakes Cold War thriller that takes place on the treacherous waters of the Atlantic. The story centers on a group of Soviet agents who hijack a merchant ship with the intention of using it to deliver an atomic bomb into the Panama Canal. A small band of passengers and crew, including a courageous captain played by Barton McLean, must find a way to stop the terrorists and prevent a global catastrophe. The film is a lean and efficient thriller that relies on suspense and the claustrophobia of the ship's setting to create a sense of mounting tension. Historically, this film is a fascinating artifact of the early 1950s Red Scare and the deep-seated fears of nuclear terrorism that defined the era. It captures the pervasive anxiety of the time where a single ship could hold the power to change the course of history. Directed by Paul Guilfoyle, the film is noted for its straightforward, unpretentious storytelling and its focus on the procedural details of the hijacking. Barton McLean brings a rugged, authoritative presence to the role of the captain, providing a steady anchor for the high-stakes drama. For viewers interested in the intersection of maritime adventure and Cold War paranoia, Captain Scarface offers a taut and historically resonant experience that reflects the unique anxieties of the atomic age. Number 16. Sofia, 1948. Sofia is a unique and atmospheric spy thriller that serves as an early example of the Cold War genre, filmed in Mexico, but set in the tension-filled capital of Bulgaria. The story follows an American agent who is sent to Sofia to rescue two scientists who are being held by the Soviets. He soon finds himself caught in a dangerous game of cat and mouse with local authorities and rival agents, navigating a city where everyone is watching and trust is a rare commodity. The film stars Jean Raymond and features Sigrid Guri as a mysterious woman who may be more than she seems. The film is historically significant for its early depiction of the Iron Curtain and the burgeoning conflict between the East and the West. It reflects the transition in the spy genre from the anti-Nazi stories of the war years to the ideological struggles of the late 1940s. Directed by John Reinhardt, the film is noted for its moody, location-based cinematography which effectively captures the feeling of a city under surveillance. The script is surprisingly nuanced for its time, exploring the personal toll of espionage on those caught in the middle. For fans of the classic spy thriller who are looking for something a bit different than the usual Hollywood offerings, Sofia provides a compelling and atmospheric look at the dawn of the Cold War. Number 17. Prison Break, 1938. Prison Break is a gritty and impactful crime thriller that focuses on the themes of social injustice and the struggle for redemption. The story follows a man who is wrongly convicted of a crime and sent to a brutal prison where he must navigate the internal politics of the inmates and the harsh treatment of the guards. When he eventually manages to escape, he finds that life on the outside is just as dangerous as he attempts to clear his name and find the real culprits while being hunted by the law. The film stars Barton McLean, who is known for his tough guy roles, and he brings a sense of raw vulnerability to the character of the wrongly accused man. Historically, this film is significant as part of the prison reform subgenre that was popular in the late 1930s. Reflecting a growing public concern over the conditions within the American penal system. It moves away from the more sensationalized gangster films of the early 30s to provide a more grounded and empathetic look at the lives of those caught in the legal system. Directed by Arthur Lubin, who would later direct the classic Phantom of the Opera, the film is noted for its fast pace and its realistic portrayal of the hardships of prison life. It remains a taut and emotionally resonant thriller that highlights the era's commitment to exploring social issues through the lens of popular entertainment. Number 18. Buried Alive, 1939. Buried Alive is a somber and powerful prison thriller that explores the psychological trauma of incarceration and the fight against a corrupt legal system. The story centers on a young man who is sentenced to life in prison for a crime he did not commit. As the years pass, he begins to lose hope, feeling as though he has been buried alive within the stone walls of the penitentiary. The narrative follows his internal struggle and the efforts of a dedicated social worker who believes in his innocence and fights to secure his release. The film features a strong performance by Robert Wilcox, who captures the sense of isolation and despair that comes with a long-term sentence. The film is historically significant for its focus on the psychological impact of the prison experience, rather than just the physical dangers. It was produced during a time when Hollywood was increasingly interested in stories of the little man being crushed by uncaring institutions. Directed by Victor Halperin, who also directed the horror classic White Zombie, the film features a moody and oppressive atmosphere that mirrors the protagonist's mental state. It serves as a compelling bridge between the crime drama and the social problem film, offering a thoughtful critique of the justice system of the late 30s. For viewers who appreciate a thriller that prioritizes human emotion and social relevance, Buried Alive is a poignant and enduring watch. Number 19. Death in the Air, 1936. Death in the Air, also known by the evocative title Pilot X, is a high-flying mystery thriller that combines aerial action with a classic whodunit plot. The story involves a series of mysterious plane crashes that are linked to a shadowy figure known only as Pilot X, who seems to be targeting specific individuals within the aviation industry. A courageous pilot and a determined investigator must take to the skies to uncover the identity of the killer before more lives are lost. The film features impressive for the time aerial sequences and a sense of adventure that was typical of the mid-30s B-movie. Historically, this film is significant for its early use of the aviation setting as a backdrop for a mystery, reflecting the public's fascination with the burgeoning world of commercial and private flight. It is a quintessential example of the Poverty Row mystery, where creativity and pace were used to compensate for a limited budget. Directed by Elmer Clifton, the film is noted for its fast-moving plot and its effective use of suspense, as the characters realize that the killer is one of their own. It remains an entertaining and nostalgic trip back to the early days of sound cinema, offering a unique blend of mystery and high-altitude thrills that still manages to engage modern audiences with its earnest storytelling and period charm. Number 20. The Racketeer, 1929. The Racketeer is a fascinating and historically important crime thriller that stands at the very beginning of the talkie era. Starring a young Carole Lombard in one of her earliest significant roles, the story follows a charismatic and powerful racketeer who finds himself falling for a woman of high social standing. As he attempts to navigate his life of crime while trying to win her affection, he is eventually caught in a web of betrayal and police intervention. The film is a bridge between the silent era and the early gangster films that would soon dominate the 1930s, featuring a mix of sophisticated melodrama and gritty crime elements. The film is historically significant for showcasing the transition of Hollywood stars, like Carole Lombard, from silent cinema to sound, proving that her magnetic screen presence translated perfectly to the microphone. It is one of the earliest examples of the gentleman criminal trope, where the protagonist is portrayed with a certain level of sympathy and charm, despite his illegal activities. Directed by Howard Higgin, the film is noted for its surprisingly modern feel and its focus on character dynamics over simple action. It serves as a valuable document of early sound-era filmmaking, capturing a world of speakeasies and high society scandals that would define the noir genre for decades to follow. For anyone interested in the roots of the thriller, The Racketeer is an essential and stylish piece of history. There you have it, 20 incredible and often forgotten thriller classics that you can stream right now for free on YouTube. This journey through the decades has shown us just how versatile and enduring the thriller genre truly is. From the intellectual spy games of Boris Karloff to the tragic atmospheric mysteries of Bela Lugosi, and even the early television puzzles featuring Jeff Goldblum, each of these films offers a unique window into the history of suspense. These movies remind us that the best thrills often come from a well-crafted script, a compelling performance, and a director who knows how to use shadows to tell a story. I highly encourage you to check these out while they are still available. Many of these films are public domain treasures or part of dedicated archives that celebrate the history of cinema, and they offer a far more rewarding experience than many modern high-budget releases. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of thriller classics, please subscribe to our channel for more curated lists and in-depth looks at the history of film. We love sharing these hidden gems with you and keeping the legacy of these great filmmakers alive. Which of these thrillers are you going to watch first? Do you have a favorite classic star among the ones we've discussed today? Let us know in the comments below, and as always, happy watching.